The ache of loneliness, the sting of betrayal, and the quiet despair of shattered trust, these are the shadows that often fall across the path of those who struggle to find true connection. It's a feeling eloquently captured by a man who, when asked about his lack of friends, offered a profound analogy: friendship is like a diamond. It's rare, expensive, and there are a lot of fakes. If you made one mistake, then a second, and a third, at some point you would say there are no real diamonds in the world, there are only fakes. This isn't just cynicism, it's the weary wisdom of someone who has sifted through too many imitations. Another man echoed this sentiment, adding, "A friend is a person to be valued and treasured, but unfortunately, there are rarely any friends in life you can really value." These are not the words of misanthropes, but of individuals who have likely invested deeply, only to be met with disappointment. The weight of disappointment. Haruki Murakami, in his poignant novel Norwegian Wood, delves into this very idea through the character's heart-wrenching admission: "I don't like being alone. I just don't make any extra acquaintances. I don't want to be disappointed in people." This isn't a preference for solitude, but a protective fortress built around a fragile heart. It's a defense mechanism, a preemptive retreat from the potential hurt of unfulfilled expectations. When the sting of letdown becomes a familiar companion, the safest option often feels like not engaging at all. The parable of the apple tree, a heartbreaking lesson in unrequited friendship. Perhaps one of the most powerful and heartbreaking illustrations of this struggle is the sad parable of the boy and the apple tree. This story, a potent metaphor for one-sided relationships, offers a valuable, albeit painful, lesson for both those who feel friendless and those who are fortunate enough to have strong bonds. The tale begins with an idyllic and pure friendship, a young boy and a vibrant, giving apple tree. The tree offers boundless joy and solace, a sturdy branch for swinging, sweet apples for sustenance, and cool shade for rest. It gives selflessly, believing wholeheartedly in an honest and sincere friendship. It embodies the very essence of unconditional giving, a beacon of loyalty. As the boy grows, his visits become less frequent, his world expanding with new friends and shifting interests. Yet, he still returns to the tree, not for companionship, but for solutions to his problems. First, he needs money. Without a moment's hesitation, the tree offers its apples. He sells them, and then, without a backward glance, vanishes, leaving the tree to wait, day after day, for his return. Later, he reappears, burdened by the lack of a home. The apple tree, ever generous, urges him to cut down its branches to build one. He does so, builds his life, marries, and finds happiness, seemingly forgetting his faithful friend entirely. The tree, now a mere trunk, stands alone, its sacrifice unacknowledged. Finally, in his old age, he returns once more, not out of fondness, but driven by a new complaint: he's sick of everything, and wants to sail away. The apple tree, now a gnarled stump, silently offers its last, ultimate sacrifice, its trunk to be fashioned into a boat. He takes it, and without a single look back, sails away, leaving behind a scarred, broken remnant of their former bond. The complete and utter lack of reciprocity is chilling. The stump, once a symbol of vibrant life and unwavering loyalty, experiences a profound and agonizing loss of meaning. It no longer finds joy in its existence, having given everything to a friendship that ultimately consumed it. However, nature, in its relentless cycle, allows for healing. Through the sun and rain, a new, resilient apple tree emerges from the old stump, ready to face the world again. Yet, when a new boy approaches, expressing a desire for friendship, the young apple tree trembles. It has learned a bitter, searing lesson: it no longer believed in honest and sincere friendship. The scars of the past, though invisible, run deep. The scars of idealism. This poignant parable resonates deeply with George Carlin's insightful observation: inside every cynical person is a disappointed idealist. The apple tree, once brimming with unwavering faith and generosity, becomes cynical not out of inherent malice but from repeated exploitation and abandonment. It was an idealist who gave everything, only to be left with nothing but the painful memory of a friendship that was never truly reciprocal. Damon Salvatore's line from The Vampire Diaries, "The hardest thing is getting over people who have brought only pain and disappointment," is relatable, striking a chord with anyone who has endured such relationships. However, one could argue that the hardest thing is not to get over such friends, but to forget them. The pain and disappointment leave an indelible mark, shaping one's future interactions and capacity for trust, making it incredibly difficult to simply erase their impact. The human heart, an intricate landscape of desires and fears, often yearns for connection, for the warmth of camaraderie, and the unwavering support of true friendship. Yet, for some, this yearning is perpetually at odds with a deep-seated caution, a reluctance to fully open up that stems from a history of unmet expectations and painful betrayals. When we encounter individuals who seem to walk alone, who meticulously guard their emotional inner sanctum, our immediate reaction might be to label them as aloof, antisocial, or even flawed. However, to do so would be to overlook the profound and often heartbreaking journey that has shaped their solitude. Their detachment is rarely a choice born of indifference but rather a testament to a path strewn with unreciprocated kindness, a journey that has taught them the bitter lesson that vulnerability can lead to profound pain. The architecture of distrust, how experiences build walls. Consider the individual who has, metaphorically speaking, been an apple tree for someone too often. This isn't just a casual analogy, it's a powerful metaphor for a pattern of self-sacrificial giving in relationships that are inherently unbalanced. Imagine someone who consistently offers their time, energy, resources, and emotional support without receiving anything comparable in return. Each act of generosity, each moment of unwavering loyalty, becomes a branch extended, an apple offered, a piece of themselves given away. When these offerings are consistently met with indifference, exploitation, or outright betrayal, the wellspring of their giving begins to run dry. The pain isn't just about the loss of a specific friendship, it's the erosion of trust in the very concept of friendship itself. Every disappointment layers upon the last, forming a kind of emotional scar tissue. Initially, one might rationalize a single betrayal as an anomaly, a bad stroke of luck. But as the pattern repeats, a second, a third, a fourth instance of being taken for granted, lied to, or abandoned, a deeper, more insidious conclusion begins to form. Perhaps true friendship simply doesn't exist, or at least, not for them. This isn't cynicism in the casual sense, it's a profound loss of faith, a resignation that the world of genuine human connection is a myth. This cumulative disappointment creates an architecture of distrust. Each negative experience acts like a brick, slowly building walls around the heart. These walls aren't erected out of malice but out of self-preservation. The individual learns, through painful repetition, that vulnerability is a liability, that opening up leaves them susceptible to further hurt. So, they retreat, not because they dislike people, but because they have learned to fear the pain that people can inflict. Their solitude, then, becomes a fortress, a protective measure against a world that has proven itself to be emotionally unsafe. The illusion of reciprocity, the apple tree's painful awakening. The parable of the boy and the apple tree is a masterclass in illustrating this painful awakening. The apple tree begins with a pure, almost naive, belief in the beauty of friendship. It offers everything, its fruit, its shade, its very being, to the boy. This initial, idyllic phase represents the foundational belief in the goodness of others, the assumption that kindness will be reciprocated, that love will be returned. But as the boy grows, his relationship with the tree shifts from one of innocent companionship to one of pure utility. He comes only when he needs something, viewing the tree not as a friend, but as a resource. The tree gives its apples, then its branches, then its trunk, each sacrifice more profound than the last. With each taking, the boy gives nothing back, not gratitude, not companionship, not even a simple acknowledgement of the tree's existence outside of its immediate usefulness to him. The apple tree's silent suffering is a mirror to the experience of many who have been friends to those who were merely takers. The tree's waiting, its looking down the road, its constant hope for the boy's return, highlights the emotional investment made. The boy's repeated abandonment isn't just an act of ingratitude, it's a denial of the tree's inherent value as a friend, reducing it to a means to an end. When the tree, reduced to a mere stump, finally allows a new sprout to grow, it does so with profound hesitation. The new apple tree's trembling at the offer of friendship isn't a sign of unfriendliness, it's the raw, visceral memory of past pain. It represents the deep-seated fear that once again, its generosity will be exploited, its vulnerability punished. This fundamental shift from open-hearted trust to cautious skepticism is the tragic consequence of repeated, unreciprocated kindness. It's the journey from being a naive idealist to a wounded realist. The cynic as a disappointed idealist, a psychological perspective. George Carlin's pithy observation, "Inside every cynical person is a disappointed idealist," perfectly encapsulates this phenomenon. Cynicism isn't usually an innate personality trait, it's an acquired defense mechanism. It's the armor worn by those who once believed deeply in the inherent goodness of people, in the purity of intentions, and in the possibility of unwavering loyalty. Their idealism, however, was repeatedly shattered by the harsh realities of human nature, selfishness, manipulation, and indifference. This isn't about being inherently bad or negative, it's about a deep psychological wound. The idealist, by definition, sets high standards for relationships, perhaps unconsciously expecting a level of reciprocal investment and emotional depth that many are simply unwilling or unable to provide. When these expectations are consistently unmet, the idealist doesn't just feel let down, they feel profoundly betrayed, not just by specific individuals, but by the very ideal they held so dear. The resulting cynicism is a protective shell, a way of lowering expectations to minimize future pain. If I expect the worst, the cynical mind might reason, I can never truly be disappointed. But this protection comes at a steep price, the denial of genuine connection, the very thing the idealist once craved. The parallel to the apple tree is striking. The tree was an idealist, giving without reservation. Its subsequent reluctance to trust again is its form of cynicism, a learned response to protect itself from further disappointment. It's a sad wisdom born of pain. The unforgettable scars, why some friendships haunt us. Damon Salvatore's declaration in The Vampire Diaries, "The hardest thing is getting over people who have brought only pain and disappointment," resonates with a profound truth. The pain of betrayal, particularly from those we considered friends, is unique. It's not just the loss of a relationship, it's the shattering of a bond built on trust, intimacy, and shared vulnerabilities. However, while getting over such people is undoubtedly difficult, it can be argued that the hardest thing is not to get over such friends, but to forget them. These are the friendships that leave unforgettable scars. They are the moments when trust was broken, secrets revealed, loyalty abandoned, or support withdrawn when it was most needed. These experiences don't just fade away with time, they become imprinted on our emotional landscape. They influence our perception of others, making us scrutinize new acquaintances with a heightened sense of caution. Every new person entering our lives is unconsciously subjected to a litmus test, measured against the painful yardstick of past betrayals. The memory of these painful friendships can manifest in various ways. A deep-seated reluctance to confide, why share vulnerabilities if they might be weaponized later? A fear of asking for help, if past requests were ignored or met with scorn, why risk it again? An aversion to initiating plans, why extend oneself only to face rejection or flakiness? A pervasive sense of guardedness, always keeping a part of oneself hidden, never fully letting anyone in. These aren't conscious decisions to be isolated, they are often deeply ingrained psychological responses to past trauma. The brain, in its attempt to protect itself, creates neural pathways that associate intimacy with danger, closeness with potential pain. Overriding these pathways requires immense courage, consistent positive experiences, and often, professional support. It's a long and arduous process to unlearn the lessons taught by betrayal. Beyond judgment, cultivating empathy for the solitary soul. So, when we encounter someone who appears to walk alone, who avoids making deep connections, our immediate response should not be one of judgment or condemnation. Instead, we should cultivate empathy. Their solitude isn't a deficiency, it might be a profound testament to a journey fraught with unreciprocated kindness, a history of being the apple tree for someone who only ever saw them as a resource. Consider these possibilities. They have been burned repeatedly. They may have extended their hand only to have it slapped away, or worse, bitten. Their guardedness is a self-protective measure, a fortress built not to keep others out of malice, but to keep themselves safe from further hurt. They've experienced a profound betrayal of trust, perhaps a close friend revealed a secret, manipulated them, or abandoned them in a time of need. Such betrayals can shatter one's fundamental belief in the reliability of others. They've consistently found themselves in one-sided relationships, where they were the giver, the listener, the problem solver, but rarely received the same level of support or care in return. This leads to emotional exhaustion and a feeling of being used. They value genuine connection so highly that they refuse to settle for less. Rather than engaging in superficial relationships that offer little substance, they choose solitude. Their lack of friends might not be a deficit, but a principled stance against inauthenticity. They are still idealists at heart, unwilling to compromise on the depth and reciprocity they crave, even if it means prolonged periods of loneliness. They may have a history of being misunderstood or misjudged, leading them to believe that expressing their true selves is simply too risky. The effort required to constantly explain or defend themselves can be utterly exhausting, making retreat the more appealing option. This profound loss of faith in others, born from repeated disappointment, is indeed a very sad reality. It speaks to the deep psychological impact of unfulfilled relational needs. In many cases, not having friends doesn't signify a lack of desire for connection, but rather, speaks volumes about the numerous, heartbreaking reasons a person has learned not to trust. Their solitude is often a silent scream, a reflection of a deeply wounded heart that longs for connection but fears the pain that often accompanies it. Moving forward, understanding, patience, and the seeds of new trust. Understanding this complex reality is the first step towards fostering a more compassionate society. For those who have been apple trees, the path to new connections is often slow and requires immense patience, both from themselves and from potential new friends. If you encounter someone exhibiting these guarded behaviors, instead of labeling them, consider offering unconditional kindness, without expectation. Simple acts of genuine warmth, free from any hidden agenda, can slowly chip away at the walls of distrust. Consistency and reliability, being someone they can count on, even for small things, demonstrates trustworthiness over time. Respect for their boundaries, don't push them to open up before they're ready. Allow them to set the pace. Active listening and validation, when they do share, listen without judgment and validate their feelings, even if you don't fully understand their past pain. Patience, patience, patience. Trust, once broken, is rebuilt in increments. It takes time, consistency, and repeated positive experiences to mend a wounded heart. And for those who recognize themselves in the narrative of the apple tree, the journey back to trust is challenging but not impossible. It often involves self-compassion, acknowledging the pain of past experiences without blaming oneself. Therapy or support groups, professional guidance can help process past traumas and develop healthier relational patterns. Taking small, calculated risks, gradually opening up to trustworthy individuals in low-stakes situations. Redefining expectations, understanding that no friendship is perfect, and setting realistic boundaries. Focusing on self-worth, recognizing that one's value isn't dependent on the validation of others. Ultimately, the story of the apple tree reminds us that even after profound devastation, life finds a way to regenerate. A new sprout can emerge, full of potential, even if it carries the memory of the past. The journey from deep disappointment to renewed trust is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Have you ever found yourself in a position where past disappointments made it incredibly difficult to open up to new connections, even when you longed for them? How did you begin to navigate that challenge, or what do you believe are the most crucial steps for someone in that situation to take?